What if one woman's silence could have caused a massacre and destroyed the destiny of a future nation? 400 armed men were marching toward bloodshed. Swords were already drawn. Anger was about to decide the future, and only one unarmed woman stood in their way. Her name was Mahalia. Most people have never heard of her, yet in a single conversation, she stopped a tragedy, redirected a leader's destiny, and altered the course of an entire people. This is not just an ancient story. It is a warning and an invitation. Because sometimes, one courageous voice is all that stands between wrath and destiny. Have you ever noticed that the greatest turning points in history rarely come through the people everyone expects? Not kings on thrones, not generals with armies, but quiet individuals overlooked, underestimated, who stepped forward at the exact moment when everything could be lost. No one knew her name. No one expected her voice. But heaven had been waiting for her moment. Mahalia was one of those people. She was not a famous spiritual leader. She was not a queen. She was simply a married woman living among the plains of Kedrath. Yet her story was preserved for one reason. God knew we would need to learn from her courage. The sun scorched the highlands of Kedrath, where stone dwellings clung to fertile valleys and livestock filled the fields. Inside one prosperous estate walked a woman of quiet authority. Mahalia moved with calm purpose. Servants listened when she spoke, not from fear, but trust. The records say she was discerning and radiant, but her true beauty came from somewhere deeper. She was shaped by prayer. She understood the times. She saw patterns others ignored. She sensed when moments carried spiritual weight, while others lived only for the present. Mahalia could see beyond it. But wisdom is never tested in comfort, and hers was about to be tested in fire. If Mahalia represented wisdom, her husband Corvin embodied its opposite. He was wealthy, influential, feared, but his heart was hard. His servants avoided him. His words wounded. His pride ruled every decision. How could God allow a woman of wisdom to be trapped in a marriage ruled by arrogance? Scripture does not explain, but history reveals a pattern. Sometimes God places light in dark places not to punish the light, but to expose the darkness. Mahalia's years of silence were not wasted. They were preparation. Not far from Corvin's estate, another story unfolded. A man named Eliam, once celebrated for courage, now wandered the wilderness. Though chosen by God to lead the eastern tribes, he lived as a fugitive hunted by the current ruler who feared losing power. 600 men followed him, not criminals, loyal warriors. For months, they protected villages and flocks, including Corvan's. Then came the season of abundance. Eliam sent messengers in peace. Corvan answered with insult. "Who is Eliam?" he sneered. "Another runaway seeking scraps?" This was the moment when a future leader almost became what he was never meant to be. Eliam's restraint shattered. "Arm yourselves." 400 men marched toward Corvan's estate. By nightfall, blood would be spilled. One of Corvan's servants ran to Mahalia in terror. "Your husband has insulted Eliam. They are coming to kill us all." In that moment, Mahalia faced a decision. She could hide. She could remain silent. She could wait and hope. But silence would cost lives. Without consulting Corvan, Mahalia ordered provisions, prepared bread, wine, roasted meat, dried fruit. Not an apology, an act of honor. Then she mounted her donkey and rode out alone, an unarmed woman riding toward 400 furious men. What kind of faith moves toward danger instead of running from it? Dust rose on the horizon. Mahalia dismounted and fell face down before Eliam, a noble woman humbling herself before rage. She spoke calmly, "Let the guilt fall on me." Then she reminded him of who he was. "You fight God's battles. Do not let this moment stain your future." And then the sentence that changed everything. May this never become a regret upon your soul, that you shed blood in anger. Sometimes, the voice of God does not thunder from heaven. Sometimes, it speaks through courage. Eliam froze. His anger dissolved. Blessed be God, he said, who sent you to stop me. The swords lowered. The army turned back. A massacre was prevented not by force, but by wisdom. That night, Corvan celebrated drunk and careless. Mahalia waited. The next morning, she told him everything. His heart failed him. Days later, he was gone. What wrath could not accomplish, God resolved without a sword. When Eliam heard of Corvan's death, he recognized God's hand. He sent for Mahalia, not out of desire, out of recognition. She had the heart of a leader. She accepted with humility. The woman once bound to folly became the companion of wisdom. Only now can we understand the secret of Mahalia's life. God had been preparing her all along. Every silent prayer, every patient day, every act of wisdom amid foolishness, it was not punishment. It was preparation, because through Eliam's preserved destiny, peace was established. And from that peace, generations were shaped. Where in your life is God waiting for you to speak before silence costs too much? Where is wisdom asking for courage? God is still looking for people willing to stand between destruction and destiny. Sometimes, one brave voice is all he needs.